Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. And a few months ago I created this little mini terrarium over here, and it came with a set of jars. To be exact, these two jars. And I've been staring at them for quite a few months now, and I have, I think, quite a cool little idea that I actually want to create with one of these. To be exact, with the medium-sized one. As from the title and from the thumbnail of this video, you guys probably can tell that I want to create a mini paludarium. For those of you that don't know what a paludarium is, it's a terrarium basically filled half land and half water. You have a water section and a land section, plus obviously your background with plants, and this is what I want to create inside here, though space is quite limited, and obviously it wouldn't be mini if it weren't anything small. So yeah, I was playing around with the idea for quite a long time of how to create this, but I think I have the idea and I think I have the plan to create the mini paludarium inside this jar. So yeah, stay tuned and stick with me, and let's create a little mini paludarium inside this little jar over here. Now, in order to create a land and water section in a small little space like this in this jar, I went digging through my little aquarium box of shame, and I still had this lying around, and this is quite a big piece of filter mesh, and it's a quite coarse filter mesh, but it should be perfect for what I'm, well, trying to create. Let me just throw this to the side and I'll show you guys what I actually created yesterday, or came up with yesterday, rather said. And this is it. Now, I basically just cut out a little half moon section and a little rectangle that I glued to it, if you guys can see that. And this is going to go inside the jar and basically create two little sections. And then I'm going to use some lava rock to basically just cover the front of the wall. This is obviously going to be beneficial for beneficial bacteria to grow inside of it. And it's also just going to cover up the filter mesh to not look just like filter mesh. Once this is inside and I have the lava rocks on the front, I have this little section in the back that I can actually fill up either with sphagnum moss or a little substrate mixture. And with that little section in the back, I'm going to have a little bit of a land section. It's not going to be big. I want a little bit more water than land section, but that is the idea. Anyways, I need to somehow figure out how I'm going to get the lava rocks onto the filter mesh on the front here, and then get everything inside of the jar. Now the jars are closed up with this cork bowl, and the top entrance is not really that big, so it's going to be quite a little bit of a challenge to work, well, with this and to try and get everything down inside of here. And for the back wall, I actually also have quite a cool little idea that I actually want to create a little bit of a moss wall, but we will get to that a little bit later once I actually figure out how to get all the rocks to stick onto this and to get everything inside of this jar, and then go from there, I would say. Now, in order to add the lava rocks to the front wall of this filter mesh, I'm going to be using hot glue, and it seems that the hot glue gun is finally on temperature. So I'm going to just start adding some rocks, and I'm going to make sure that it can still fit into the jar. This is obviously going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of finessing, but I do think that once the lava rock are all on there, it might actually look quite cool. So let's just get started. If it doesn't turn out the way that I want it to, I can always redo the little mesh wall. Without trying, we will never know. So let's get gluing. So I'm quite happy the way that it turned out so far. As a gluing medium, hot glue is pretty good, though unfortunately it doesn't last forever. Now, in order to keep it all locked together and be a nice solid back wall, I'm going to be using some liquid super glue. I'm just going to be putting liquid super glue all between the little cracks everywhere and giving it a nice good bond. And then I'm going to just be adding some crushed up lava rock over that, and then the super glue won't actually even be visible. So I'm going to do that, and hopefully it should still all fit inside the jar. It seems that it does, but I'm going to just continue with this. And then once we are done with this, we can glue down the back wall inside the little glass, and we will have half of our paludarium already ready to go. Well, there we go. The back wall is almost complete. It doesn't really want to stand by itself, so yeah, I need to glue it down on the inside of the mini paludarium. I'm going to try and do my best to not spill too much hot glue around, but yeah, I'm going to just pour some hot glue down into the terrarium to the bottom and take the little mesh wall and glue it on the inside. Hopefully it just stays upright. Then we can continue working on the little wall. So let me try and do this. So there we go. The wall is on the inside. I did get a little bit of a light up for you guys since the lighting is quite terrible in the apartment. And now you guys can see a little bit better of what it looks like. Now, it's not perfect, unfortunately. I did have to crush a little bit of rocks away on this side here just to make it fit in nicely. I couldn't really twist it in, but it fits, as you guys can see there. That's going to be the water section, that's going to be the land section, and the wall doesn't look too bad. Now, I still want to add a few rocks on the top here, since the filter mesh is still quite visible, especially if you put it down like this. Try and get the rocks to go on the top. I'm going to see if I can get this done. I'm quite pleased with the way that it turned out. This is going to give me quite a bit of water to put into the paludarium. Mini paludarium, rather said. But let's continue and add some rocks on the top, and then we can actually start working onto the back wall of it, which I, as mentioned, have quite a cool little idea for it. Well, there we go. The wall is done. As you guys saw, I still added a bit of rocks on the top and added some super glue and some crushed up lava rock on top. It was obviously not easy trying to get the super glue inside. My hands just don't fit at all, but it is quite solid, and I did give it all a little bit of a rinse. I'm going to obviously now just put it aside, let it dry a little bit, and I'm quite pleased so far. Okay, now that the retaining wall is complete and dry after I've given it a rinse, we can now focus on the land section of the mini paludarium. And I want to create a little wall to the back of the glass. Like I was saying, I got quite a cool little idea, and I'm going to be using 3 different materials to create the back wall of the mini Paludarium. So let me get them over and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to create the little wall. First off, I'm going to be using some aqua soil. Now, aqua soil obviously is a clay-based media and it's got quite a bit of nutrients inside of it. So that's going to be the first ingredient. The second ingredient that I'm going to be using is some cocoa fiber. Now, cocoa fiber and the aqua soil and the third ingredient together is just going to give it a little bit more of a binding structure, and it's just going to keep the combination of all three a little bit more humid and moist. So this is going to be number 2. And this here is ingredient number 3, and this is just cat litter. This stuff is perfect because it's also a clay-based media and it is literally just 100% pure clay, and combined with the aqua soil and with the cocoa fiber, this is going to actually create quite a nice, firm, but sticky mass that is going to be rich in nutrients for the back wall for plants to be growing on. In my case, it's going to be moss. These three basically combined is going to be the ingredients for the back wall of the mini Paludarium. It's going to always be nice and moist, and it's going to be a good nutrient source for whatever plants we want to put on there. So let's mix them together. 45% ratio of aqua soil and cat litter, and about 10% of cocoa fiber just into the mixture. Doesn't need to be much. And obviously for the back wall of the mini Paludarium, I also won't be needing much. So the ingredients in front of me are obviously way too much, but let's get them all mixed together and then we can actually start working on the back wall. Now that I've cleaned my hands again, we are left with this sticky, gooey conglomerate over here, and this is going to be perfect. It's going to stick to the glass in the back, and it's going to, anything that we want to sort of place onto it or into it is going to stick as well. It's going to be quite difficult to try and get all of this into the mini Paludarium, especially along the back wall here, and especially since my hand won't fit inside here. So I'm going to be using all sorts of tools, especially my scaper tool here, to try and, well, put some inside of the glass. It's going to be quite tricky, so this is going to be another time lapse for sure. But yeah, I'm obviously going to be back with you guys once the wall is done and once I'm pretty sure my hands are clean again. So I'm going to get started. This is most probably going to take quite some time. For you guys, it's just going to be a quick time lapse. So let's get started on the back wall. Okay, now that we added some details to the back wall with some lava rock, I'm going to start adding some moss. And I do have my moss over here, but I did have some moss still from the mini terrarium that I actually created a few months ago. Unfortunately, though, I didn't really take the best of care of that moss and it just didn't look too well. So I went to go get some more moss. Now, I did go up to my local lake. I got a perfect little spot over there where I collect my moss. You can go and collect moss in your backyard, in the forest, even out in the streets. Any moss basically should be quite fine. Though, if you guys do want to know a little bit more about moss and how to identify moss and how to collect moss and clean it and so on, I did go into way more detail on all of this in the mini terrarium build over there. If you guys want to go check that video out, I put a tag up here. But yeah, I would say let's get the moss into the mini Paludarium and finish off the back wall. Add some more details with some sticks. Now, I still had quite a few sticks and pieces of spider wood from previous builds. So I'm going to be putting in some of these, but only after actually adding the moss. So I'm going to put these aside and we can get ready to add some moss. There we go. The wall is complete. It's all filled with moss. I mean, you can see the lava rock still a little bit, but there's still some more details in the form of twigs still coming. But I'm very, very pleased with the way that it turned out. Unfortunately, though, there is not much space left for a land area, but I'm going to most probably just fill up the back completely with aqua soil and just plant some sort of vine plant in there. But I'm very, very pleased with the way that it turns out. Do apologize for the lighting and the reflection. It's quite hard to film this, and yeah, lighting with a little desk lamp is, well, the best that I can do. But it turned out quite good so far. So let's continue with some more detail and get the back filled up, and then it's almost done. So off camera, I just filled up the back with aqua soil. My wife had to help me. It was not easy trying to get it back in there. But yeah, filled it up with aqua soil, and I want to now add a few more details in form of some twigs and sticks. This is just going to bring the scape way more alive and going to give it a little bit more of a different texture. So let's add some more detail to it and get it a little bit more natural looking. Well, there we go. The wood pieces are all inside, and I do think it just gives it a much more natural look and gives it more depth into the mini Paludarium. But I'm not done yet. I still have some Selaginella uncinata here, and this is a very, very slow growing plant, but I absolutely love it, and it fits into every terrarium and Paludarium, and it'll just slowly but surely just creep and grow over the wall. So I'm going to still be adding some of this. And I also have a little bit of a vining plant from my backyard. Now, unfortunately, I don't know the name of this. This stuff basically grows like weeds everywhere. So I'm going to be adding this as well, just to give it a little bit more texture. And I think it's just going to give the mini Paludarium just a little bit more green instead of just the moss. So let's add those, and then we can actually fill up the front of some sand and fill it up with water. I might still have a third plant that I might add to the back where the aqua soil is, but I'm going to see once I plant all these plants how things look and decide then. Well, there we go. The mini Paludarium is done, and I am absolutely pleased with it. I'm fallen in love with it already. It looks absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, the water is still a little bit murky. There's no filtration, so it's going to take a day or two for all the fine particles to actually just settle down. And I did add some red root floaters on the topsoil, and I added a few snails just to have a little bit of life on the inside of it. It's going onto my desk next to my laptop, so I'm going to be staring at it. So some movement on the inside the water is going to be nice, but I'm absolutely in love with it. Leave a like and a comment down below and tell me your thoughts on the mini Paludarium, and if you've created anything in this size before. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. It would help the channel out quite a lot. We are over 500 subscribers already, so thank you to every single one of you that has subscribed. It means absolutely a lot to me, and I hope that, yes, for a 500 subscriber, somewhat special, this is something special. I'm still going to just put a few more B-rolls in the background. Otherwise, I'd say I'll catch you guys in the next one.